Now the Honey Badger is in the version 1.4, and it is also a book published on Amazon. We're going to see the usual actors, the principles, the teams, how we communicate. The communication and the knowledge transfer is one of the pillars of the Honey Badger and something that is missing from the other systems. We're going to discuss about AI integration and commitment to ESG, and we're going to see at least qualitatively what are the benefits, not only for project management, but also for reaching the corporate targets. So we have a framework that is for today, the AI era. It is transparent, and this is connected to ESG because in ESG we don't only have energy, we don't only have the E, there is the G, which is also very important. And of course, the social aspect. It is much more adaptive than all the other agile systems. And this is why we have chosen the name Honey Badger. It is very, very, very resilient. It is a system which is built for the humans to reach their targets, but it is operated by humans and machines in a very organized way. Now, any system that claims to be making some kind of important difference has some principles, some pillars. First of all, we have agility, yes, but there is leadership. And this is a very important issue because agile adaptation has led to chaotic situations. We allow to teams to self-organize, but there is somebody who is taking the responsibility. This is the manager. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. We're very clear. There are no situations like a group of people need to somehow find a solution as a team without having roles that are understood by everybody. It's also created ambiguity and a lot of stress in organizations. We want to believe that the system is so well defined that it is intuitive. It's structured, even though it is hybrid, humans and AI assistance is understandable by all the members of the organization. We're going to see why. Very important is we treat the knowledge transfer, which is structured and obligatory, not only as something which is good to have, but as an essential factor to decrease the risk and the stress. We have a knowledge baseline. We're entering in a huge organization, but at least, for example, what is the level of difficulty of the software development that we do? We need to have a baseline for this to be understood by everybody. And this is where AI assistants are stepping in. And when we understand where we're positioned, it is much more easy to plan and then take action to achieve the targets. And when we do Honey Badger, it is not like the agile system that we have seen in when it was used in Europe, that yes, people were trying to imitate agile management, but of course, they did not follow the classic hierarchy. So we need to do Honey Badger 100% because it is not a heavy framework, and only if it is done 100%, it can bring results. Again, the pillars of agile execution, very quickly, AI knowledge and the baseline, ESG optimization. We empower the leadership, even though we're agile, we're transparent, and the Honey Badger is a priority for the C-level. This slide, I would like you to see that we'll assign the same weight to all the factors. So when the system is followed in full, it can give the results. But if we take one element, for example, very usual, but the C-level and the top management could not care if the organization is using a specific management framework, specific management system. This is a catastrophe because the framework is not going to be followed. We're going to see that in Honey Badger, the C-level cares strongly about how well is executed the system. Now, I want to go quickly through this slide because we are going to discuss a little bit later in more detail, but we have an agile looking system. We have sprints. This means we start a project, and then if we see that the work is not aligned with the business case, we can cancel the sprint, we restart it. We don't want to have long sprints. This is again to reduce the stress. We're discussing 1 week sprints and up to 3 per month. So everybody is prepared to start working and then cancel it if needed. Of course, if we cancel all the time, there is a problem in the management. The rules are clear. At the project level, we have the specialists who are doing the work. We have a manager who is asking for specific work to be done, but does not organize the specialists. We have an AI assistant which is accessible by the whole organization. So one assistant is used by the top management. It is used by the specialist, which is the most junior position. And this is very important for transparency. It has many dimensions that we are going to see. And then we have somebody who is the guru who enforces the correct execution of the hiring budget, but it has some very, very special powers that we are going to see. Because there is a top management, we are doing knowledge transfer in a structured way. We do not allow for ambiguity to occupy our progress territory. To know that a few times per week, a few times per month, knowledge transfer between specialists and others need to take place, in addition to the formal presentations. We have the AI assistant, we have communication events, discussing the progress or doing presentations of the progress to any stakeholder. And we're very focused on ESG. We're consciously focused on ESG. It is a commitment, and we're going to see what we're gaining. The roles, we're going to very briefly discuss them. The manager delegates, makes the presentation, which is another way for him to take the responsibility of the progress. And of course, he needs to customize and fine-tune all the project tolerances, handling the resources, etc. The guru, very important. He has special powers. I will tell you more about him. He can even write memos to the top management if a director is not encouraging the absolute following of the hiring budgets. A specialist has the domain expertise, and again, the AI assistant, which is not which does not exclude the use of other types of AI in the organization for specific tasks. Imagine we are in a financial environment, we have the central knowledge-related AI assistant, and then we're using AI to do our reporting or to make predictions based on the time series about the stock price evolution. But this position is central for knowledge support for the baseline and to check a number of errors. Now, in more detail, in this agile system, the manager is the authority. I cannot stress more this. You have seen we had initially agile number 1, or the one, it was not mentioned, and then the lack of the manager created the need for a group of people to work on agile too. So there is a confirmed problem, a confirmed issue that in self-organized and sprint-based operations, we must have somebody who is the authority. He assigns the tasks and asks the team to organize and tell him exactly how they are going to work and allows them to progress. Of course, we have a dashboard, and it is for him to design the dashboard, because the dashboard is not only visible by the teams at the project level, it is accessible by everybody, by the top management. So of course, somebody can just come at the door, look at the dashboard, he should be able to understand what is the level of the progress that we have. And he takes the responsibility for the resources. It's his responsibility. The team of the specialists cannot decide what exactly they are going to do with the available resources. Now, the goal, of course, ensures that the framework is executed as it should, and then starts providing feedback to whom? To the manager in the first place. If the manager is going against the framework in technical terms, he can discuss with the director, he can send a memo even to C-level. For this one issue, the framework compliance, he has the absolute power. He can see that in progress, he can formally notify the manager, he can assist him with the fine-tuning of the dashboard, and he can serve multiple teams, because human beings, they have some level of proven scientific limitations about maintaining relationships. We're going to discuss it afterwards, a little bit later, I'm sorry. And having one person who knows a lot about the system, can contact in parallel with 2 or 3 different teams, is an exceptional facilitator. In terms of knowledge transfer, he is perfectly allowed to have an expertise. It is desirable to have a double hat, framework compliance, but also he can have an expertise in a specific subject matter. One thing that can be done is compliance, legal compliance, added to the compliance to the framework. This is a proposition for organizations, and he can very well offer also his knowledge. But this is the least important for the group. The specialists. You see, in Honey Badger, we divide the teams of the specialists in 2 groups. They compete, but they are obliged also to help each other. I think it is something very harmonious. They know the subject matter. Imagine we have somebody, an analyst, who is doing financial analysis with his colleagues, his 5 colleagues, or he's doing software development. And these people are the innovation drivers. Provided they have a suitable framework to work, to be undisturbed, and when they do such a delicate work, to have a positive psychology. And this positivity in the psychology is assisted by the fact that, for example, in Honey Badger, in the beginning, all the specialists need to announce at least one knowledge weakness that they have. It is ceremonial, but shows also a culture of humility. We try to find ideas to stop the organizations from having terrorism in the perception of the employees' capabilities. Want them to feel comfortable. And my next slide has a problem. Not change the slide, but don't worry, I can give the presentation without the slide. Here is our technician. Don't worry at all, but I'm going to continue without. Okay, can we change manually the slide? Yes. The AI assistant is for knowledge transfer, is for knowledge baselining. It can do some checking of errors. It has the advantage to process the data rapidly. But imagine we're entering in a room that everybody should be able to know on this specific subject matter what the AI assistant can do. It is very important. And its existence is very, very important also for the top management. For example, one of the classic problems that we have is that the hierarchy needs to believe, for example, the software developers. They tell them that we're going to do some technological progress. The matter is very, very complicated, and they just need to act on faith that now, with the existence of the AI assistant, they can just make a thought experiment themselves. This is a tremendous change. And the fact that we impose the existence of the AI assistant as other people could just recommend it is a structural element of the system. Next slide, Daniela. The senior management is doing what we know that what it does. The major difference that I see, in addition to what I just told you about the AI assistant, is that for only one matter, not for financial matters, not for strategic matters, but only for the framework, it accepts memos from the guru, which is something which is unheard of. Normally, a compliance officer cannot easily access the top management. We have some complications. The first one is classic agile looking. The daily standard is classic outgoing on information looking. The sprint preparation again is you can see these things in any agile book, but we have extraordinary events, which is again a shield behind the budget. When there is something to be discussed, we have extraordinary events with a controlled duration. In addition, it is the manager who makes the presentation to the stakeholders. And you see, we have the structured knowledge transfer on a daily basis. So what we do is that we create pairs of the specialists, and we encourage them, if possible, every day to meet and find something that one can help the other. So we try to break any kind of bad competitiveness cage, because the people need to present some humility by announcing in the beginning that there is at least one thing among the countries that they do not know, and in addition, very, very systematically communicate with each other and help each other. This is, of course, something that has very strong team building dimensions. The sprints are few. This is what I want you to retain. Not too many, 3 sprints per month. We have some tolerances that are very reasonable. And you see, we're discussing about MVPs. The biggest target is to reach a minimum viable product in 1 week. Of course, if this is not doable because of the type of the work that we're doing, or if we are depending on external factors, we at least need to have a well-defined sub-products. The rest is operational and technical. That's why I want to tell you that we don't have a dashboard that is updated in real time, because this could give too much work to the people. We update it 3 times per day, and we allow again, if one of the C-levels of the company would like to come to the door and look at the board, he should be able, in an understandable way, create an impression of where we are, if we're stuck, but not with minimal only information, as we do in some systems. We want to have a dashboard that is rich enough to include, if possible, even some technicalities, something useful, not just the names of the tasks and where they are in progress or not, or complete. Now, the ESG. Everybody cares about the ESG, because if we're committed in ESG, we have some benefits. And at the end of the presentation, we also have some predictions about the ESG. Now, we care about the psychology of the people. This is what I just mentioned about the knowledge transfer, which is obligatory, and admitting weaknesses. That's fine. We have a lot of transparency thanks to the AI assistants, because if there is one AI assistant that is accessible by the juniors, they can have some level of better understanding about what is the strategy of the top management. This is conscious, this is very important. Then we have the energy. Now, I did not bring you many numbers because this is an introductory presentation. But if we are going to use AI a lot via the AI assistant and via also the specialized tools, for example, to do automatic reporting in a company, we're going to end up with 1/3 of energy consumption. One of the reasons for this is that the machine uses electricity only when it works. The human being has a basis of calorific requirements that are independent of the level of the work. So my calculations, and I can send you articles about this, indicate that we are going to have at least something like 1/3 decreased energy requirements if we are going to put the AI assistant in the center of the organization and also encourage the usage of the AI. There are dimensions there. For example, if you have an AI assistant, it is consciously used and monitored by so many eyes. It is much more difficult to get completely stopped in your progress. That will mean that the groups are going to attempt to work, they are going to be stressed, burn energy, but they're not going to move towards deliverables. We can also do potentially real-time energy expenditure. We know what is the energy consumption of the machines. We use them. We use less software if we are going to have the AI assistance. And to also know what is the metabolic expenditure, of the humans. Very well, there are watches now that can count your calories, and then if they have access to also blood pressure and other elements of your health, they can make a very qualitatively decent estimation of your calorific expenditure as a human being. So we can potentially do absolute real-time energy expenditure control, and this is very, very important. So we're discussing ESG in all directions: energy, the psychology of the people, the social aspects, and the transparency that comes with the adoption of an AI system. One AI assistant to avoid that even its performance is going to be a matter of interpretation. Now, I could bring a table of something like 15 frameworks. Most of us know about agile, but we know that it is a small framework. We know about PMP, it is very well respected. We know the Anglo-Saxon Prince2, and we also have SAFe that is designed for scaling. The take-home message is that none of these systems explicitly adopts artificial intelligence. To my best knowledge, PMI these days is asking for feedback about how it should be done. There are some ideas, but there are no explicit instructions. The PMP is presenting tools. It is not a clear framework. SAFe has one advantage. It is designed for scaling. It has very high scalability. But apart from that, nobody competes with Honey Badger in terms of AI integration, ESG, and its scalability. I have done a very entertaining thought experiment. I put the Honey Badger framework inside most of the current top-level AI chatbots: Grok 3, GPT, Flexity, and more. And they all conclude that there is no structural competitor, because we consciously attack three elements, attacking the positive way, three elements that have very important value for the organization. Explicit AI integration, very systematic, with steps to avoid confusion, because we have one AI assistant used by all. ESG, that we discussed briefly, and the scalability is wonderful, because you have the different teams that if they say one guru, all the communications are becoming much tighter. And when we do knowledge transfer between specialists, it is not excluded that they are going to ask for help to the team next door. These are ideas that have been used in the past, but they have not been formal. They were happening only in case of a tremendous need. Now we know that every day knowledge transfer for very limited time can take place. Qualitatively, and what I show you here is supported by scientific publications and by publications by consulting firms that have the habit of publishing a lot. At the project level, the team productivity is going to be the one that is going to be supported the more. We're going to have tight teams having eradicated most of the obvious barriers. Then we're going to have, of course, increased quality in our products. Then the completion time is going to be much more better controlled. And very conservatively, we're going to say that as we're working in such a systematic way, the chances to improve the budget adherence are there. There are many scientific indications that this is the case. But this graph is qualitative. This is a graph about the corporate benefits. We're going to have an increase in innovation rate because it can be shown when we're going to have a very systematic involvement of artificial intelligence in projects. At least many ideas come out, new ideas come out, because the machine can make errors, but it can recommend leads that it is not illegal to at least evaluate them. We're going to have some modest increase, I say, in profitability. We're going to have some better employee retention. And perhaps this is a very conservatively demonstrated point because we are taking measures to make people happier because they need that they enter in an environment and they can receive help and they have one entity of help which is the artificial one, and then they know that in their schedule it is obligatory to receive some kind of assistance for a limited amount of time. And when all these beautiful things happen, the market share is at least we can expect something like 10% increase. The long one is the overall competitiveness of the organization. The hierarchy, again, this is something that needs to be retained, has power, has authority, but consciously tries to receive as much feedback as possible. So we have a very complex, to the eyes of the layman system, involving machines, that involving rules about the timings of the different events when the project is executed and when the whole organization is operating. But we're going to have a lot feedback, and we're going to have authority to minimize the chance of any chaotic situation. I believe that by now we are convinced that we're investing very heavily in transparency. Isn't it beautiful? We know that AI is hallucinating. But now, if we're going to have one type of AI, the AI assistant that is watched by everybody, if there is any sign of hallucination, it is going to be detected immediately. In addition, as we're going to have a knowledge level baseline, and this is evolving, this is updated every day, even the chance that the human beings are going to hallucinate decreases considerably. One AI assistant watched by the top level management that has beautiful experience, and also by the specialists who could detect something very technical that the very senior individuals in the hierarchy could not detect. And if the people do something that looks irregular, a simple check with the AI is going to catch it. Pure risk mitigation for humans and for the machines. The scalability, I mentioned this because I like it so much that the gurus can be shared. And it has been studied many years ago, more than 50, 60 years ago. It was found by, I believe, a British, and also believe he was an anthropologist, Dunbar, that scientifically, not qualitatively, not social scientifically, but with experiments, that one human being can have 150 meaningful relationships maximum. Why? Because there are some barriers. Now, some of these barriers are getting removed thanks to our framework, and we should be able to go beyond. Because what can stop people from communicating towards achieving a goal? Ambiguity, stress, lack of transparency. They do not know what is their exact position in the organization. They do not know what exactly is the project and the goal of the whole organization. Now we're making a lot of effort to make these factors less and less visible. And it is very strongly indicated that we're going to go beyond the numbers number. That includes communications, not only and relationships in the professional field, but also in the social aspects of life. So by removing a lot of the weight, the situation is going to get improved with whatever it may mean. That can only be a good thing for the organization. So we are adaptive, innovative. The AI assistant is going to get updated every 2 weeks on average. It is going to be immediately adopted. And of course, we're going to make conscious efforts to adopt any other type of AI at this high tempo. And this is why the management is future-proof. Thank you, and I would like to listen to your questions with great interest.
Any questions, please?
Thank you for the presentation. So you talked a lot about the AI assistance. I'm wondering if you could also share maybe some benchmark, more precisely about some error score that the company are allowed to tolerate regarding the AI assistance. Because obviously there's some miracle solutions, but many make some mistakes. And it could be interesting to know about the score that companies are, let's say, willing to tolerate regarding these AI assistants. Do you have any?
The exact numbers have been an enemy of progress for frameworks because they were making them heavy. What is doing the organization is that it is trying to adopt the best possible AI assistant. And this is a knowledge-based AI assistant. It is not the assistant that is going to make an exact calculation of the predicted price of any investment instrument in a few weeks. So we consciously try to not put the things in such barriers that can be cancelled in 2 weeks. For example, we had the publicly available AI assistants, and we also have the benchmarks that are published every 2-3 weeks. And we see week number 1, Grok 2 is vastly inferior than OpenAI 03. Then we see after 2 weeks, Grok 3 is vastly superior. So we cannot be locked in such a situation. We want to have a knowledge baseline that is getting better and better with the time. But as knowledge is also a little bit qualitative as a concept, we don't want to block it. Yes.
consolidation of all Jira, Confluence, PowerPoints that exist in the company should it be conceptualized like that?
Having a software that is going to involve the AI assistant is positive. But the AI assistants that are available in the market and what is coming in a few months, they already have their own beautiful software. Have some technical requirements connected to the memory of the AI assistant. If we are going to have the AI assistant being trained also to the data of the company, and this to be done systematically. Now, involving pieces of software like Jira and Confluence with the Honey Badger framework is desirable. It is not the most important thing, but it is highly desirable.
So who you if the company decides to invest in it, how will be
The top management is going to decide which AI assistant they are going to use.
can you give us an example?
Today, the paid versions of the chatbots that you see. Today. But very soon, we are going to have very well performing agents. And next year, we're going to have something that you don't know the name already. But it is a top level decision which AI assistant they are going to use. And they're going to receive consultation, of course, by all of the interested stakeholders. It's an important decision because we cannot change the AI assistant every 2 weeks. Yes.
Yes, first I want to say thank you as well for your presentation. And second, as for my question.
Yes.
So you specified that the specialists are the ones who have the most knowledge on the AI system, whichever team or the technology is appropriate is being made up, utilize for projects. While the guru manages multiple teams, right? My question would be that between the guru and the specialist, who would be the one to report to either multiple teams or senior management with regards to aspects like governance, accountability, and considering legal implications? Because I see that's a big one.
I see. The guru is the one who cares about the framework. The specialists are working on the subject matter, and it is the guru who gives the reports. Gives the reports to the manager, and if needed, he gives the reports to higher level the errors. But it is the guru who is doing reporting. Guru. The other people should have a nice environment to concentrate and do their very highly demanding intellectual work.
The rules of
To me,
is the design the dashboard.
the manager, but he can receive assistance from the guru. Yes.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. I found the idea of one AI for the transparency accessible to the actors pretty interesting. Also, would that change, for example, in specific industries or companies? For example, when we have, I don't know, trade secrets or other secrets, for example. And how do you see the Honey Badger framework being applied to specific highly regulated industries like finance and environmental law? Would that change anything, or would that be same applicable?
Beautiful. The factor that an industry can be very highly regulated or not is not affecting the need for a knowledge baseline. Then the performance of the compliance department needs to be very important. It has been shown that even huge AI, and we're not only discussing about AI projects here, but for any project, okay? But huge AI projects have been cancelled because of compliance reasons. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but there is one that has been involved in medical matters, the AI, but they have to cancel the work due compliance issues. So the Honey Badger is not attempting to fine-tune anything from the beginning. Is attempting to create conditions that are favorable. with the teams, the health, the knowledge transfer, the transparency, and the AI assistant as a knowledge reference continuously accessible by all. Another question?
Just last questions you mentioned about ESG optimization, and I heard about energy consumption. Very interesting. Do you think that given the increasing pressure on corporations to comply with environmental regulation, this particular framework will give or integrate more ESG compliance or more effectively besides the energy consumption? Do we have more examples of this?
The existence of ESG commitment has been very strongly correlated even with profitability. It's very important to know that in some regions, companies that have targeted ESG commitment, at least commitment is an effort, conscious effort to be good in a specific direction. They have demonstrated important increase in profitability. Now we are not only concentrating on the E, as I mentioned during the presentation of the ESG, but also on the S, the social aspect, and on the G, which is the transparency. And this is evolving.
Question.
Yes.
Let's say you have software teams that usually can work on different things and then integration at the end.
Yes.
In that case, in this framework, who will be responsible for the integration? Will it be the manager? Will it be the guru?
The director.
The senior management
The director.
will be responsible?
Yes. Yes. So the mentality of the honey badger is not to cancel the previous structural elements of the organizations. We have the classic hierarchy, and the one supreme element is the guru who has the power to report even to the directors, so even to the top level management. So if we have a super project that has sub projects, then the teams are going to work. The managers are going to, of course, communicate between them, but the higher level control will come now at the director level. So as you know it in your organization, which is flat hierarchy.
The concept is really very interesting. What do you think should be the skills and the background of that person? A scientist, an engineer?
Two things he needs to have. One, of course, he needs to know the honey badger management framework, and two, he should have, as we're going for two hats, one area of expertise. And we're proposing some thought experiments and case studies that the guru should be involved with compliance. Now, the compliance, imagine a pharmaceutical company has been mentioned, we should have somebody who knows, for example, knows at least the honey badger, but for example, is an expert in quality assurance. Or if he's in a bank, he should know about the requirements. For example, let's say we want to create a new fund, investment fund. Of course, we need to have the teams of the analysts and the traders and the sale relationship managers and the account executives. And then the guru should know something about the legal part. So we can have very, very harmoniously a guru who is also a lawyer. So not an engineer. So the existence of AI does not mean that the profile of the guru needs to be a technical person. He can be a lawyer, which is high demand actually. Yes.
And then next, how long would it take to train a team to integrate this framework?
All right. Technical people are the specialists. Yeah, they have the most technical background. And the technicalities come also in satisfaction to the requirements of the company. Then the guru can be trained in the exact time can be, let's say, 3 months, but the guru should spend a little bit more time than a specialist learning how to be part of the honey badger team. And I believe that we can transform an organization in 6 months. If it is average size company, having multiple teams, we can transform it and teach it how to use the honey badger in 6 months.
And then I'm just looking at this slide here. We're here looking at global AI. We aim at promoting, among other things, the ethical application of artificial.
We will talk about it afterwards.
Sorry.
We will talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Yes.
President of AI.
I'm just asking you, so I'm just to hear more from you, but to you, some of what you've said have represented values like transparency
Of course.
and what good functioning of the team and so on. But do you have anything like more to draw out explicitly to explain your approach to the ethical application?
Of
Well, the ethical thinking involved in that tool you've built and
the existence of the transparency, the commitment to the transparency, which is not based on only making promised systematic announcements of progress or of the direction of the company, but giving consciously a tool that will increase the understanding of the organization members at all the levels is something that promotes the ethics. It is, I think, the strongest point of all. There are other moves that we do. For example, having a room like this made of specialists. Imagine such a room of specialists and having everybody accepting a weakness. Only one weakness. Knowledge related, not character weaknesses, is irrelevant. Is the first step that we can take towards transparency.
And just as a follow-up, are there any ethical concerns that you have or that you want to mitigate or you want to contribute to?
The main ethical concern is, first of all, having the top management announce in one direction and then taking another, hiding elements under the carpet as it is usually done. And the ESG commitment is one of the most classic examples because ESG is translated to some preferential financial terms due to banking. I don't know if you want to comment on this. Now, everybody wants to say that they are committed to ESG, but not everybody is doing at least some effort. With such a level of transparency, the chances to be unethical on this front decreases. It is a very healthy effort.
Maybe what's your view on global standards like ISO 42001 can be like leveraged as a framework by gurus or other figures?
We can adopt all the frameworks that are beneficial, and as this framework is light but has some very strong, very strict concepts, it does not exclude many things. It is the contrary, for example, that what we have seen elsewhere, where there were many details and many tools, exact tools that we need to use, as in the case in PMP, that everybody is becoming very light. Now, any quality assurance system is welcome, and it will be a super element to the framework. For example, with everything that I have told you by now, you don't know exactly how to create, say, a piece of software or to create an investment portfolio. But there are standards that can guarantee some level of quality in these efforts. So there is a compatibility due to the lightness of the framework. In terms of details, another question, yes.
Yeah, it's so easily available now everywhere. Like in Jira, in Confluence, it's like everywhere you have AI components and AI assistants.
Yes. And everything is called AI for marketing reasons.
Exactly. How would you approach convincing leadership that they have to choose only one tool?
Because this tool it is not a general type of AI, but it is an AI which is for the management. So they are not choosing AI, they are choosing, if I understood well your question, they are choosing which framework to use. Are they going to use Prince 2? Are they going to use PMP combined with Prince 2 that are perfectly, which is perfectly possible? Are they going to use Scale? Are they going to use Lean Six Sigma for the specific topology of application? So the AI is not the management method. Honey Badger is the market. Yes.
Adding to her previous question, Colin. So, what I noticed, like, was things that the Honey Badger magic framework, and I do know your intent that stuff. It's very much to just make AI an assistant just that. Because as it stands right now, a lot of commercially available AI,
Yes.
like I said, they're acting more like entities. Like, for example, ChatGPT, they're now students that in like middle and high school, like relying on that instead of like reading textbooks, studying, or like asking your teachers.
Right.
So I do understand, but it's in my opinion, that is an admirable approach in regards to